All right, guys, let's go for a run. So I've learned my lesson. And I'm not going to try and put the phone anywhere for these car talks. Just going to hold it so it doesn't fall off mid-car ride to the run. So a little recap on the week. Honestly has not gone very well. So we had a shakeout, 2-mile shakeout on Monday, Tuesday. And I was gonna go for this run that I'm going on right now, which is Friday afternoon on Wednesday. But it's been kind of a gnarly week. So I've had to move stuff around. I've worked, probably about 80 hours this week. And so, yeah, we're just getting to go for our midweek 6-mile run today. And, with training and, having a family, having a full-time job, I mean, this is part of it. It's managing your schedule around, the kind of just all the stuff that you have going on in your life. Sorry, there's a bunch of construction I gotta get around real quick. So anyways, you just have to manage it. And I think that it's easy to become an excuse like, oh, I had 80 hours of work this week, so I'm not going to get out there and I'm not going to do my midweek run and I'm going to kind of miss my mileage. And listen, at the end of the day, there's two sides to this. Stuff happens and it's okay if you miss a run here and there. But it's always better because what? Because time on feet, like we said, most important metric, time on feet. It's always better to, again, control your training and environment variables yourself. To make sure that you're setting yourself up for success and that you're setting your schedule up so that you can get out there and that you can get after it. So I don't think we're going to change the mileage on the week. I think we'll still get to 20. So today we'll do a 6. And we've got 2 on the week so far, so we really do need to stack up some wins here. So after today, we'll be at 8. And then tomorrow, we'll go for an 8. And we'll record that too and talk about that and, have another long run for you guys. And then on Sunday, we'll do just a 4-miler. And, I think what I'll probably end up doing, though I won't confirm this yet. You'll know when the video comes out. I might do a kind of back-to-back video, just to kind of talk about some important things to consider when you're doing back-to-back runs on the weekends. Those aren't going to matter, or not matter. Those aren't going to happen nearly as much in the beginning, this base training block. But with ultra running, probably the most consequential long runs that you'll do will be the ones that are back-to-back Saturday to Sunday. When you're training for an ultra, any distance that's massive, really the most value that you can get out of a long run is going to be it's going to be those back-to-back runs that you get, because there's kind of a diminishing return with mileage in one day. So really the most beneficial long run distance that you can kind of get to in one single day is 20 miles. And after that, you're putting so much stress on your body that the training effect just really isn't there. So it's often just better to split them up, 21 day and then 10 or 15 the next day. And often with ultra training plans, and I don't know, maybe this is different for people who are really going for time, but for any training runs that I've done or any training plans that I've had for ultras, you often kind of switch away from a distance-based approach to a time-based approach. So instead of having a 20-mile run, you might have a 4-hour run. Or instead of having a 13-mile run, you might have a 2-mile or a 2-hour run. The idea is just that at a certain point, it's really about how long you can stay on your feet for without having an injury and without bonking, without all of the kind of deleterious things that can happen to your body. when you're training or when you're doing these distance runs. So yeah, we might do one of those kind of back-to-back videos this weekend, depending on how things go. I still have a bunch of work to do, so if things get too hectic, then we'll just do the 8-mile run tomorrow, and we'll still do the 4-mile run. We just probably won't record it. I know that we had to shift the schedule a little bit and release this video on Friday instead of Saturday. I don't anticipate they'll have to do that too often. I think once I can get into a good routine with these videos, we won't have to worry too much about the timing. But this comes with the whole package of being a father, or just kind of, if you're a woman, maybe a mother, with a family. You have to make do with the time that you either create for yourself or that is, kind of given to you by your family. At the end of the day, if you're not doing your runs first thing in the morning, you are going to be, your family is going to be sacrificing something for you in order to be able for you to be able to get out there and, kind of do the run that you have set out to do. So it's important that you're thankful to them if you're not getting out there early in the morning, that they're letting you kind of get out there and train and do what you're passionate about. So definitely make sure to thank your family if you're not running first thing in the morning. And, I have repeatedly said throughout this series so far that I much prefer running in the morning to running in the afternoon. However, I would say 90% of the runs that you have seen have been in the afternoon. And, there is a double-edged sword to this. You definitely want to kind of get in a groove that works for you and that feels good on your body. And you don't want to force it too hard. So if you're having trouble getting up in the mornings, and you've kind of forced yourself to a couple of times and it still doesn't feel good, but those afternoon runs feel good, definitely lean on that and just do what works for you. What you're really trying to balance is the difference between, what you're trying to balance is optimal training conditions with actually training. So if the difference between you going for a run and not going for a run is waking up a little bit later and going for your run later in the day, definitely go for the run later in the day, because doing the run is going to be better than not doing it, obviously. So once you kind of get in a groove, just capitalize on that and kind of do whatever you have to do to keep your schedule up. For this run today, goals, I don't really have too many goals. I'm not on a time crunch, but I would like to get back home because I did have to wait till after work today to do this. So I probably won't take too many walk breaks unless I absolutely have to. I probably will just kind of get out there and not send it, but definitely not take it slow. The goal today is just going to be to put some miles on the legs for the week. We should be fresh because all we've done is that 2-mile run on Tuesday. And we've also been to the gym. I've worked out a couple of days, and so my legs are still a little bit tired from squatting, but nothing crazy. So yeah, we'll get out there. This will probably be anywhere from, I would say, like 56 minutes to an hour long run. And as far as gear, I accidentally left my 500 milliliter bottle in the car that I like after my long run last weekend. So I just found that out today and it has to be washed. So I have to bring these stupid little tiny bottles, which I absolutely cannot stand. But it's okay. We make do with what we have. Yeah, so we're just gonna get out there and try and have a good run. I'll see you guys out there. So we're just getting into mile 1 here. And I was thinking about how we talked a little bit about how running is such an honest sport. Kind of reveals a lot to you about yourself, mainly when you're out running. I mean, it can do it when you're not as well, but I think some of the purest realizations about yourself come when you're running. And to that end, in thinking about how running is such an honest sport, everything that you do on a daily basis is what's going to contribute to your run being a failure or a success. And what I mean by that is, if you're running in the afternoon like I am right now, and you haven't hydrated very well, which I haven't today, to be honest with you. We're eating very well. I have eaten actually pretty well today. When you get out there to run, your run's gonna suck. And it's easy to just, it's easy to not take accountability for that. But at the end of the day, it's on you to decide to take ownership for how the run goes and what you've done to contribute to that. And that applies not just to running, but in all aspects of life. So whatever you do today, or whenever you see this video, do it to the best of your abilities. And if it doesn't work out the way that you expect it to, don't blame another circumstance. Blame yourself. Do the things that you know you should do and try harder next time. I'll see you guys after mile 1. All right, just wrapped up mile 1. Feeling pretty good. 9:16 pace. I'll see you guys at mile 2. All right, just wrapped up mile 2. 9:06 pace. Feeling really good. It's a beautiful night out here. Get out there and do your runs, guys. I'll see you again at mile 3. I was just thinking about how I got into running. It relates back a little bit to the point that I made a little bit ago about being responsible to yourself. When I was in college, at that point, when I started running, about my sophomore year, I really had blamed a lot of people and a lot of things for the unhappiness that I had felt inside. And when I started running, and among a lot of other things, but really running specifically, it made me realize that it's all on me. I had to get out there and do my training runs, otherwise I wasn't going to finish my race. In life, you got to do whatever the equivalent of a training run is for you. You got to do the things you know you're supposed to do in order to succeed. And if you don't, you won't. I'll see you guys again soon. All right, mile 3. We're out here. That's what matters. We're out here. Taking a little walk break. Come to think of it, I don't think I met my criteria for this, but we're out here so that we can have some gas in the tank for tomorrow. It's important that, especially on your midweek training runs, that you leave about 20% in the tank. That's really true for any run, but I would say definitely for the midweek runs, unless you're doing a threshold. Leave about 20% in the tank, so give it about 80% effort. Like you could have kept going for, another 20 or 30 minutes. All right, walk break over. Let's keep going. All right, so I think I've decided that it's time for a new pair of shoes. And there's a couple ways that I think about this. So typically shoes are good for about 400 miles-ish, depending on your weight. I'm about 220, 215, somewhere in there. So for somebody who weighs as much as I do, it might be a little bit less. But there's some good indicators for how you can know it's time. And it really just boils down to are things that don't normally hurt you hurting you during your runs on fresh legs. So we've only run 2 miles this week. It's Friday. Pretty much nothing should be hurting me. But I was noticing as I was lacing up today that these shoes were getting kind of weak at the bottom and flat. And now I got a lot of aches and pains. So it's time for a new pair, but I'm looking forward to finding some new ones. So leave a comment if you have a suggestion. I'll see you guys soon. All right, mile 4 down, 10:07 pace. We're out here. It's Friday afternoon, we're out here. Let's get it. I'll see you guys at mile 5. Little mile 4 walk break. All right, it was up to 166 and was definitely feeling the effort, and really do want to leave that 80% or that 20% in the tank. So we're walking a little bit. Heart rate's back down to about a 148 now. So about time to start going again. I'll see you guys at mile 5. All right, mile 5, 9:51 pace on the last mile here. Let's absolutely not give up. Let's give it our all, and let's finish this run out strong. I'll see you guys soon. All right, wrapped that up. So, did I just say what I think it did? Well, it doesn't matter. Wrapped that 6 mile run up, finished in 9:24 pace. Sorry, trying to see what the time is. I'll put the Strava up here for you guys so that you can see it. Yeah, it was 56 minutes in total. So that's right about where I said it was going to be, anywhere from 52 an hour. It was a tough run, but that's okay. The important thing is that we got out there. Again, it doesn't have to look perfect. You know, I used to watch a lot of YouTube runners. And I don't do it as much anymore because I think a lot of their missions are really cool. You know, like I think Nick Bear, he was my favorite for a while. I really love, you know, he's a family man. He has a cool company, you know, he's a veteran, all that. And I do really appreciate what he does and what he stands for. But so many of his videos are so polished, and they make it look like, you know, he's just doing this stuff effortlessly. And I think that, you know, there is an art to that, and there is something that's appealing about that. But at the same time, it can kind of create this false ideal in your head of what your run should look like, you know? He's out there and he's doing these perfect, you know, 10-mile runs before work in the morning, and he's doing them at like a 7-minute pace, you know, an hour and 10 minutes for 10 miles. Like, sure, the most elite athletes can pull that off and can sustain that over an extended period of time without issue. But, you know, when I tried to emulate the same, like, I just fell apart. And it's not because, you know, I'm not capable or you're not capable that that's the case. It's just because, like, it requires a level of dedication, but also natural athleticism. And, you know, I've said this before, but I am, you know, athletic to some extent, but like I've never been good at anything naturally in my entire life. I've had to work work really hard at it. And I'm really proud of where I've gotten to with running. You know, the fact that I just did that 6-mile run in under an hour, like, yeah, hell yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy that I'm able to do that. And I recognize that not everybody can. But the whole point I'm making here is that, it's okay if your runs don't look perfect, and it's okay if they're slower than the influencer that you like. And it's also okay if it's hard and you have to walk in the middle. You know, that's the issue that I had with a lot of those running YouTubers. Their runs just looked so flawless, and there was no struggle in it. And I know that they're struggling, and I know that they're just not showing that. And I think that you can make it so that all of your runs have struggle, or, you know, some of them. And preparation is what goes into a lot of this. You know, I talked about at the beginning of the run how, because running is such a natural sport, whatever you, natural meaning raw, like it's going to reveal your flaws, right? And whatever you do across the day, if you're running at the end of the day, that's what, your run is going to be as easy as you prepared for it to be. And I didn't do that well today at that, pretty much the whole run, I was thinking about work, and work has been really, really tough this week. And family life has been really, really tough this week. It's the same problem that I guess all young parents have, but my kid's not sleeping. And so that means that some nights I'm not sleeping, and some nights my wife isn't sleeping, and some nights both of us aren't sleeping. It doesn't mean that sorry, this person is driving a little crazy. It doesn't mean that oh my gosh, man. Okay, sorry about that. What was I saying? Yeah, life's hard, running's hard. Running reflects, it reflects all of your flaws back at you. And, one of the things that I struggled with at work this week was like getting all my work done. And, there's definitely some amount of procrastination in that. And, I had to move some things around for running this week, but hell, there's one argument to be made that I kind of procrastinated with some of these runs. And now I realized towards the end of the run that, talk about those back-to-back days, back-to-back weeks. I'm going to have to back-to-back run this weekend, today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And that is going to be hard. That's going to put a strain on my body. It's going to make me stressed. And so that's okay. But I guess the message that I'm trying to get across is, if you start to run and you haven't run before, don't be surprised if the flaws that you have in everyday life show themselves in running, and they make it harder for you to kind of achieve your goals. When those things show up, it's a great opportunity to overcome them. I am a strong believer that running is the opportunity to kind of confront your demons. And so that's kind of how I'm choosing to look at this. This week has been challenging, and because of that, I'm going to have a challenging weekend of running. But it's a good opportunity to confront myself and to confront my shortcomings. And so overall, it was a good run. 6 miles. I'm proud of myself because even though it was really hard, I didn't give up. And I think we're gonna have a good weekend. This base block is going well. I'm feeling pretty healthy. Towards the end of that run, I was feeling a little bit achy. And I'm definitely going to need to do some yoga tonight and roll out a little bit, maybe take an Epsom salt bath. Just do some self-care for my body so that I'm able to complete all of my runs this weekend and stay true to my goal. So a little bit about the plan. You guys will see this video tonight. I'm going to upload it tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure. We're either going to do 4 tomorrow and then 8 on Sunday, or 8 tomorrow and 4 on Sunday. It just kind of depends on how the night goes and how much work I'm able to finish, honestly, and how the baby sleeps tonight. I'm not going to let any of that derail me from my goal, but I am going to shape my plan around my family and do what I can to help them out. Because like I said in the beginning on the way to the run, make sure to thank your family if you're out there running for an hour in the middle of the afternoon. They're sacrificing for you, and you need to be grateful to them for that. I know I'm grateful to mine, but I don't know how good of a job I do of expressing that all the time. So I'm going to make sure to do that tonight. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you guys in the next one.